Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Welcome back to another first look video. This one is for DraftKings Week 4 NFL DFS. This week, we're going to take a look at building a tournament lineup. This is Monday. This lineup is probably not going to be viable by the time Sunday gets here. Please do not take major issue if I put one player in this line. Well, why? What about this other player? Play whichever players you like. If I mention a player and you don't like the player, you are not contractually bound to play that guy. This is more of a lineup building exercise. We're going to try and build a lineup that will be viable for tournaments with a specific process in mind. Quarterback, stacking two pass catchers with that quarterback, bringing it back with a player on the other team, and having a secondary stack from another game, two other players not connected to their quarterback to give us high correlation in that lineup, fill 6 out of the 9 spots that we have to fill, in the hopes that we only have to be right about 2 things to really smash those 6 spots and try and overweight the top 1% and the top 5% of the tournament field with our lineups, giving us a chance, giving us multiple chances of having one thing happen, one like 50-yard touchdown that takes our lineups from like 1,000th place up into the top 10 of the tournament where all the big money resides, and give yourself a chance to win all of that KELCE. So thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video. We've got to get 1,500 plus likes on every one of these first look videos. You guys smashed it last week. Thank you very much for all of the kindness. Subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, leave me a reply down below with something that you like for week 4 in daily fantasy, something that on Monday early in the week that you're looking at, like, you know what, this is what I want to play this week. This is where all the money is going to be. And let's get to it.
He's a legend.
For those of you who've been watching on the channel all season long or in previous seasons, you know that we are doing a massive fundraiser for No Kid Hungry, trying to raise $25,000 as a community of Twitch and YouTube members here on this channel. And for every $5,000 that you guys put up collectively, I will match that $5,000 as well, up to $25,000, making a potential grand total of $50,000 raised for No Kid Hungry by the end of this calendar year. There is a Tiltify link right down below in the description. Click show more, and you can be a part of something bigger than yourself. Every single dollar helps. So if you have $1, that would be awesome. If you have 10, great. If you've had a winning week, or if you just like the content, I've seen a few of you guys give out like a super thanks on the videos. I really appreciate that. But instead of that, if you want to give a super thanks, drop some money into the No Kid Hungry kitty, and let's help feed the kids. The Smiz Gang Listener League is up for yet another week. There is also a link right next to that Tiltify link in the description. Click show more on this. It's like right there. Just people are keep putting in the replies. I can't find the listener. It's right there. Just click show more on the description. There's a link to it. It'll take you here. 3,500 people, $35,000 in the prize pool. $10, 3 max, no rake whatsoever, no service fee, free tournament. You got to pay $10 to get in, but like you don't have to pay DraftKings anything. All the money that goes in comes out to the viewers. Good luck to you in the week 4 listener league. Let's take a look at some of the quarterbacks on this slate and some of the team totals that they come along with, going up all the way to the top. Patrick Mahomes, really good at football, involved in a really high pace, high scoring game potentially against the Philadelphia Eagles, who have struggled to stop opponents' wide receivers. And if that's going to be your MO, that is not a good place to be in against the Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored by 6 points in this game, total of 55. But based on how expensive Mahomes is, I think that cash games clearly are going to go away from him. If you're playing cash game lineups, you're going to pay down at quarterback. Not all the way down to like 4,800, but like you're going to pay less, somewhere between like 5,700 and 6,500 most weeks for your cash game quarterback. You can find guys who have access to multiple touchdowns, 300 yards passing in that range. Also great for stacking. And you could get cheaper with this stack in this game then going with Mahomes with Jalen Hurts on the other side, and Kansas City just giving it up every week to opposing quarterbacks because of how high scoring their games are. Great game environment every single week to Jalen Hurts. We don't have a 3-week sample with him this season because they play on Monday night, which happens after I record this video. So we're going to have to look at what happened and look back at that. And if you want to look back at the recap for week 3 and how I did in tournaments, the winner of the listener league, who won the cage match, all of that stuff, that's on the second channel. There will be a link for that as well. It's going to be, if you click the little info box up on top, it'll be one of the cards in there, and you can go click that. Go subscribe to the second channel if you want to know when that video comes out and get alerted for that as well. So thank you guys for watching that too. Josh Allen, 40 fantasy points last week. There's just a 1 in 4 chance, let's say. How many times this year do you think Josh Allen's going to score over 35 DraftKings points? Probably like 4, right? Like last year was 4 or 5 times. Probably going to be able to get you there like 3-4 times. So if you just made all of your lineups Josh Allen double stacks every single week, you'd have a chance to win a tournament at least 4 times a year. You really only need to bank 1 tournament, guys. So like, you don't have to chase the balls around the roulette wheel all the time. Play the good players, right? It can work out for you a lot. And because they throw the ball so much, and because he adds upside with his legs in terms of not like running the ball a ton, because he doesn't run it as much in terms of attempts as guys like Hurts or Kyler or Lamar Jackson, where he's running it like 8 to 12 times a game anymore. That's just not what they want for him. They are a very pass heavy offense, as you can see by his attempts, 51, 43, only 33 against Miami, but that's because they throttled them. But when they get around the goal line, they get inside the 5 and inside the 10, he is their best goal line back. So you do have that touchdown upside on the ground, as well as how prolific he has become through the air with 7 touchdowns through 3 games so far this year, the QB1 from last year. And his receivers aren't all that pricey, considering that Beasley and Sanders typically don't go up in price all that much. Diggs is expensive, but you can get an affordable stack, as opposed to if you tried to double stack Mahomes with like KELCE and Hill. You're gonna have to find an awful lot of value to fit that sort of a stack. Kyler Murray in play every single week. Tough defense against the Rams though this week. Lamar Jackson goes against Denver. Again, a really tough matchup there. And double stacking him is possible, but for him to go off, well, one, the guys in double stack are gonna have to actually catch the touchdown passes. Hollywood. Ugh. I'm not over it. I'm sorry. I'm not over. I'm sorry that I yelled and lost my time. I'm just not over it. Russ Wilson going against San Francisco. Again, a lot of the top quarterbacks are going against really tough defenses this week. Seattle draws San Francisco. Why does it keep scrolling down on me? Seattle goes up against San Francisco. Lamar up against Denver. Allen against Houston in a game that, again, not a tough defense. I don't want somebody to, oh, he said Houston was a tough defense. But people are going to avoid that game, because I believe that like they're 17.5 point favorites. At least they were this morning when I wrote this down. If they've maintained that level throughout the week, you're going to have people that are going to fade Josh Allen on this slate for the same reason. Remember like 2 weeks ago when the Bucks were like 15 point favorites or 14 point favorites, and people did not play Tom Brady stacks because even though they had a team total of like 31 or 32, well, the team total right now for the Bills is 32.5. And where do you think all those points are going to come from? If they score 4 or 5 touchdowns, are they all going to be special teams, defense, rushing, and fullbacks? Like it's just not really going to be the thing that happens. So like there's a great possibility that Josh Allen ends this game with like 3 touchdowns or more that he's accountable for. It did it again. It keeps going up. It really wants to let you know about the listener league instead of leaving it right here where I want it. So looking down into this range that I said was more cash game viable, guys like Kirk Cousins, love him. Guys like Tannehill, I mean, I want to like him, but like I don't like the way they're doing things right now. Mayfield against Minnesota, who has not been good this year. But Sam Darnold gets to take a trip to the fantasy carnival. So we're going to go up against Dallas in this spot. And he's looked really good. They traded DARNOLD, the tight end right now, which should further condense the target tree just a little bit. They also aren't going to have Christian McCaffrey, which I don't love for Sam Darnold, because that's an awful lot of easy passing yards on dump offs. But Chumbawamba is going to take his place and probably do just fine, as he played over 70% of the snaps in CMC's absence last week, throwing the ball between 30 and 40 times every week, ran for 3 touchdowns so far this year, as they use a lot of read option and misdirection once they get around the goal line, and great weapons that you can easily stack with 3 of them at wide receiver between Moore and Marshall and Anderson, and I guess Tommy Tremble is now kind of a thing at tight end instead of Darnold to D Arnold, which is no longer something that we're going to be able to do. Sad, but still something we have to. F's in the chat, please, to pay respects. Derrick Henry has been a monster so far with about 4,000 carries through 3 weeks. What I like the most is the fact that he is actually, they've mixed in some targets. So like, while they're not running play action as much as they have in previous seasons, the last 2 seasons specifically, that has helped Tannehill really become the guy that he became at quarterback. They're not running that as much, and he's so good at play action, and play action works regardless of who your running back is or wherever you are in game script. If you're playing from ahead or playing from behind, play action just makes you a more efficient passer. Even more so when you have somebody like Derrick Henry that defenses really have to worry about getting the football. 8,800 though, and while his floor is elevated a bit, he does have to score touchdowns to pay it off at that price. Christian McCaffrey out, as I mentioned before. Chumbawamba is certainly in play. Alvin Kamara, one of my favorite plays this week. Not going to use him in this lineup. What I like most, I think, about Alvin Kamara is that his touches are way up, right? 23 in week 1, 27 in week 3. That is something that they have really not wanted to do in previous seasons with Alvin Kamara. They have kind of limited him to like 10 to 15 carries, but they would target him a whole bunch. I wish, because targets are worth more than carries, in fact, like 2.8 per each carry. Each target is worth 2.8 carries, that they would give him the ball like 18 times on the ground, including the inside the 5 work, which they are doing. They just haven't scored very many touchdowns, and throw it to him like 6 to 8 times a game. Would make it a lot easier for him to pay off this tag. But against the Giants, he does seem likely to be one of the most popular high dollar running backs on the slate, partially because of the tough defenses that other guys are going up against, or like Dalvin Cook going up against Cleveland. On the other side, Nick Chubb going against Minnesota. Ezekiel Elliott facing off against Carolina, who is the #1 DVOA defense on the season. Alex Madison had a great game last week. Barkley back at full bore at this point. Najee Harris with 19 targets last week. Again, this is the sort of usage that I would really love for any running back. 12 to 18 carries, tons of usage in the passing game, leading the league in terms of snaps for their team at running back and running back carries. So I'm going to look for a little value. As I said, DeAndre Swift seems like he's going to be a good value most weeks. Gibson is going to have to do it on the ground because they just won't use him in long down and distance, and they're not going to use him in 2-minute drill. Yes, he caught a really long touchdown because when you throw him the football, he can make really good things happen, but like they just don't trust him to be able to block. So like run him out there, but like they don't want to, because they have to audible to a pass block. He's just bad at pass blocking. So I'm not going to use him. Mentioned Chumbawamba before. Chuba Hubbard stepped into over 75 or 70% of the market share of snaps and running back touches. Once Christian McCaffrey went down, has a fantastic matchup here, can be used in the passing game as well. 5,900 seems to be just a little bit too cheap. If we can get to him, and I think that you can this week, I'm fine using him, but because we're going with the Darnold stack, I'm not going to in this lineup. I do think he's going to be popular, however. I am going to go with David Montgomery. No matter what happened last week against Cleveland, I'm hoping, maybe against hope, that David Montgomery, in a situation where they are going to be playing at home, they are favored, they are playing the Lions, who just can't help but vomit points against opposing running backs outside of the Ravens situation last week. This is a team we want to attack, and we want to attack it with a running back who should get a lot of carries, is involved in the passing game, does get the inside the 5 looks, is at home, and is favored. David Montgomery, a 5-box running back for week 4 at 5,800, seems too cheap to me, and I'm hoping that other people avoid. Lots of other plays in this range, but in order to make this lineup work, I've got like 5,000. So I'm going to go with Trey Sermon, who played about half the snaps. The other half went to Kyle Juszczyk, and Juszczyk ended the day with like 56% of the snaps and a touchdown. He's 4K on the week. Had less total touches than Sermon. Let's see what the running, like this can completely change by the weekend. The running back situation on the 49ers because of health, and if guys come back, there's just way too many toys for Shanahan to play with. Right now, he's the guy. He may not be a guy for me by the time the weekend gets here, but like on Monday morning, we're building a lineup. We're trying to make it work with correlation rules. He's the guy I'm going to plug in to try and make this work. You know that we have Sam Darnold. That means that we're going to be focusing on this Carolina and Dallas game. Cowboys favored by 4.5, and the Panthers, there's a total of 50 points in this game. So why don't we just plug in all the best high volume pass catchers up top? CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore. If you want to save a little bit of money, if you don't like the sermon play and you want to have a little bit extra to play with, then go with Cooper instead of CeeDee Lamb. That's fine. Do whatever you want. Play whichever guys you want. Because of the absence in this spot of DARNOLD, I think that they're going to open up a little bit more snaps and plays once they get in the red zone and inside the 10-yard line for Terrace Marshall Jr. Not Terrence, Terrace. Hello, Terrace. We're going to plug him in at 4,000 and give us a little bit of a savings there. At tight end, Tommy Tremble, I guess, is a thing now at 2,500. I kind of like to go after volume at tight end. You know, that's where I want to look. A lot of cash games, different story. Tournaments, different story from cash, and here's kind of why. Cash games, I want a tight end that's going to get me like 10 points, maybe 15 points most weeks, more often than not, right? So like looking for a guy who's going to run a lot of routes, get a bunch of targets, has usage in the end zone. Somebody like Noah Fant at 4,300 against Baltimore is a fine play. Higbee is running like 100% of the routes of the tight ends and playing like 95% of snaps. Every time there's a tight end getting a target, it's basically him for the Rams. Logan Thomas for the Washington football team going up against Atlanta. Lines in the slot a lot, and they've historically the last couple of years given up a ton of yards to slot receivers. Another good spot for him, 2 touchdowns through 3 weeks, a solid amount of targets, 14, almost 5 a week. Quarterback play is kind of all over the place, but it just kind of is what it is. You can pay in this range however much you want in cash, right? All the way down to 2,500. Cole Kmet at 3,000, running a bunch of routes and not in there to block. Fear moof, right? The moof is loof for Pittsburgh, but like, do you want to play that passing offense? I don't know. Jarwin and Schultz running about 50-50. Flip a coin for which one is like on the field. It's 50-50 on snaps. It's 50-50 on routes. It's 50-50 on targets between Schultz and Jarwin so far. All these guys kind of somewhat viable for cash if you're looking to save money, but like, he's really good. I like getting 20 to 30 points every week from my tight end in tournaments. I'm just going to keep clicking Travis KELCE because he stays under 15% in tournaments. So that's like 85% of the field that's not locking in 20 points at tight end. And hopefully I can leverage that with other guys at other positions who can get you 20 points through volume. Most tight ends will not. So I'm going to lock in Travis KELCE once again in this tournament lineup. I'm going to use him as a secondary stack. As we said, Kansas City, if I can find them on the scroll, in a really high-powered, high-profile game here. Going to go with DeVonta Smith, who has looked really good through the first 2 games, and now he gets Dallas on Monday night. We'll see. Hopefully he stays healthy in that game and continues to lead the Philadelphia Eagles in terms of target market share, routes run, end zone targets, red zone targets. He's their leading outside receiver on end zone and red zone targets. The tight end Goddard is leading the team in terms of those stats, but like really the guy right in there that has the ability to do that at 5,700. I don't predict that he's going to have a percentage on him in tournaments. I don't check percentages till like Friday. So like the price is going to keep people a little bit off of him as there's other wide receivers that are viable in that game. 4,700 for Rieger. People are going to be on Quez because he's 3,500 and he's a dart throw. But Smith is really the guy that I want there, leaving us 2,100 for defense. We're just going to pay down, slam the Jets in there. Hopefully they can do something and get past that offensive line and not turn the ball over inside their own 30-yard line all the time and actually get some pressure on Ryan Tannehill and cause some sacks and turnovers and get us a viable points to help us win this tournament with a lineup like this. It's not the players, it's the process. Quarterback, double stack, bring back, Go for a tight end that has a chance to get you 20 points in a tournament. Pay down at defense because of how variable it is, and get that secondary second that lineup so that you only have to ride about 2 things and not 6. And I'll catch you guys later. Bye.
He's a legend.